Very good morning. Stop. Very good morning to all. Today I am going to present mood disorders, ICD versus DSM-5 versus ICD11. History of DSM-5. The work DSM-5 began in 2000, and work groups were formed to create a research agenda for the fifth major revision of DSM. These groups are generated hundreds of white papers, monographs, and journal articles, providing the field with a summary of state of the science relevant to psychiatric diagnosis and letting it know where gaps existed in the current research, with hopes that more emphasis would be placed on research within those areas. In 2007, American Psychiatric Association formed the DSM-5 task force to begin revising the manual as well as 13 work groups focusing on various disorder areas. And finally, DSM-5 was published in the year of 2013. ICD-10. The ICD-10 work was started in the year of September 1983, when a preparatory meeting on ICD-10 was convened in Geneva. The program of the work was guided by regular meetings of the head of WHO collaborating centers for classifying diseases. Policy guidance was provided by a number of special meetings, including those expert committee on the international classification of diseases. And then meeting for 10th revision was held in 1984, and ICD-10 was finally published in 1987. ICD-11. There is a substantial advancement in medicine and the science of disease have occurred over the past 30 years. ICD-10 is outdated both clinically and from a classification perspective. Substantial structural changes were needed to some chapters. Changes could not be handled under the normal ICD operating mechanism, and the changes need were well beyond a major update. And there is a need to capture more information, especially for morbidity use cases. And the decision was made in 2007 to begin ICD-11 work. And finally, January 2022, ICD-11 was effectively implemented. Hypomania. In ICD-10, the mood is elevated, irritable to a degree, definitely abnormal for the individual. Concerned and sustained for at least 4 consecutive days. At least 3 of the signs must present in the following: increased activity, increased talkativeness, distractibility, decreased need for sleep, increased libido, mild overspending or reckless behavior, increased sociability. The episode doesn't meet the criteria like mania, depressive episode, cyclothymia, and anorexia nervosa. Awareness of the illness may be present somewhere, seeing patient able to do normal day-to-day activities. And DSM-5, hypomania, like there is no separate category for mania, which is included in the bipolar affective disorder 1 and 2 chapter, and hypomanic symptoms persistent and long-lasting 4+ days. In the ICD-11, there is no separate category for mania, which is included in the bipolar affective disorder type 1 and type 2. Hypomanic symptoms persistent, long-lasting several days. Mania. ICD-10, mania without psychotic symptoms. Mood is elevated, expansive, and irritable, prominent, and sustained at least 1 week. Unless it is severe, require to hospital admission. At least 3 of the following signs must be present, such as increased activity, increased talkativeness, flight of ideas, loss of normal and social inhibitions, decreased need for sleep, inflated self-esteem, and grandiosity. Distractibility or constant changes, reckless behavior, increased libido, and there is no delusion and hallucination will present. Somehow perceptual disorder may occur in the mania without psychotic symptoms. And the mania with psychotic symptoms, the above mentioned all the mood symptoms present same like here, and delusion and hallucination present common delusion like grandiose, self-referential, erotic, and persecutory content. Additionally, with mood congruent and incongruent psychotic symptoms also attached in the mania with psychotic symptoms. And other manic episodes and manic episode unspecified, the diagnostic criteria also included in ICD-10. And DSM-5, there is no separate category for mania, which is included in the bipolar affective disorder first chapter. Manic symptoms, persistent and long-lasting 1 week. And in ICD11, there is no separate category for mania, which is included in the bipolar affective disorder type 1, manic symptoms, persistent and long-lasting several days. Depressive episode. In ICD10, the depressive episode should last at least 2 weeks. There have been no hypomanic and manic symptoms should be present. Primary symptoms like low mood, loss of interest, and fatigue present. Secondary symptoms like decreased attention and self-concentration, and decreased self-esteem and self-confidence, bleak and pessimistic view of the future, ideas of guilt and unworthiness, suicidal thoughts and ideation, and decreased sleep and diminished appetite present. If ICD10, there is a 2 primary symptoms needed and 3 secondary symptoms needed for mild category, and 2 primary symptoms should present and 4 secondary symptoms needed for moderate category, and 3 primary symptoms needed and plus 5 secondary or more than 5 symptoms needed for severe category. There is a separate category for somatic syndrome, and there should be more 4 symptoms present following like marked loss of interest, lack of emotional reactions, walking in the morning towards or more or before unusual timings, morning sadness, absence of psychomotor activity, loss of appetite, weight loss, and loss of libido. In DSM-5, 5 symptoms should be present out of 9 symptoms. The criteria A to C considered for major depressive disorder. In ICD-10, the depressive episode called depressive episode, and DSM-4, DSM-5, the name has been changed major depressive disorder. The symptoms cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, and other important areas of functioning. The episode is not attributable to the physiological effects of a substance abuse and other medical condition. The occurrence of major depressive disorder is not better explained by psychotic disorder, and there has never been manic and hypomanic episode. Coding procedures including single episode or recurrent episode following mild, moderate, severe with a psychotic feature, in partial remission and in full remission criteria also included, and unspecified criteria also included. There may without code added some conditions such as anxious distress, mixed features, melancholic features, atypical features, mood congruent features, and mood incongruent psychotic features, catatonia, and peripartum onset. Other than that, there is epidemiological features also added related to the major depressive disorder, and differential diagnosis like mania, mood disorder, and another medical condition, substance abuse, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, adjustment disorder, sadness also included. In ICD11, the name has been changed to single episode depressive disorder. The depressive disorders are characterized by mood, example, sad or irritable or empty mood, loss of pleasure accompanied by other cognitive, behavioral, or neurovegetative symptoms that significantly affect the individual's ability to function. A depressive disorder should not be diagnosed in individuals who have ever experienced a manic, mixed, or hypomanic episode, which would indicate the presence of a bipolar disorder. Single episode depressive disorder, including depression symptoms lasting at least 2 weeks, there is no manic, hypomanic, mixed symptoms should be present. And these are the criteria for a single episode depressive disorder: mild, moderate, without psychotic symptoms. Here, the moderate criteria from the ICD-10, the in moderate category, there is no psychotic symptoms should be was added. But here, moderate category also psychotic symptoms added, as well as in single episode depressive disorder. For here, partial remission category added and full remission category added, and other like somatic syndrome like ICD-10 also excluded, and exclusive like recurrent depressive disorder, adjustment disorder, and BPAD or other related disorders. Bipolar affective disorder, ICD-10, F30 to F30.9 episodes are demarcated by a switch to an episode of opposite or mixed polarity or a remission. BPAD, hypomania. Current episode meets the criteria of hypomaniac, and there is a past history of hypomanic or depression or mixed episode should be present. And BPAD, mania with psychotic symptoms. Current episode meets the criteria of mania with without psychotic symptoms, and there is a possibility of hypomaniac depression or mixed episode should be present. And BPAD, mania with psychotic symptoms, also current episode meets the criteria of mania with the psychotic features, and there is a past history of hypomaniac depression or mixed episode depression. Separate criteria like uh, BPD mania, like mood congruent psychotic symptoms as well as mood incongruent psychotic symptoms are. And BPD mild or moderate depression. Current episode meets the criteria of mild or moderate depression, and there is a past history of hypomaniac or maniac and mixed episodes should be present. And BPD severe with without psychotic symptoms. Current episode meets a criteria of severe without psychotic symptoms, as well as there is a past history of hypomaniac, maniac, and mixed episodes of depression. And BPAD severe with psychotic symptoms with the addition like mood congruent and features also presented here. And current episode meets the criteria of severe with psychotic symptoms, and there is a past history of hypomaniac, maniac, and mixed episode should present. And BPAD mixed episode like both depression and mania or hypomanic episode will be present here. And BPAD unspecified. There is a affective features has been presented, but still we have not concluded what is the diagnosis. And in DSM-5, yeah, bipolar affective disorder type 1 and 2, the name has been changed from ICD10. The distinct period of elevated, expandable, irritable mood at least 1 week. Here, there are BPAD1 and BPAD2 different categorization used for diagnosis. And BPAD2, there will be no presence of maniac symptoms. For maniac, 1 week and hypomania, 4 days plus present, and depression, 14 days onset followed. There is epidemiological features of bipolar affective disorder has been included, and there are remission types included. The diagnosis with past history of at least 2 episodes. There may without code added some conditions like anxious distress, mixed features, melancholic features, atypical features, mood confluent features, and mood incongruent features, and catatonia, peripartum, and seasonal pattern. In ICD11, the name also changed from DSM-5 like BPD type 1 and type 2 disorder. Bipolar and related disorders are episodic mood disorder defined by the occurrence of manic, mixed, and hypomanic episodes or symptoms. These episodes typically alternate over the course of these disorders with depressive episodes or periods of depressive symptoms. Mania, there should be 1 week symptoms should be present, and hypomania 4 or several days symptoms should be present, and depression for depression more than 14 days symptoms should be present. And there are BPAD type 1 and type 2 different categories used for diagnosis here. In BPAD 2, there will be no presence of mania symptom, and there is no mania category in BPAD type areas. In the remission criteria, recent episodes like mania, hypomania, and depression mixed unspecified criteria are there. BPD type 1 exclusion like cyclothymia and BPD type 2. Cyclothymic disorder, there must be a period of in ICD10 code number F34.1. There must be a period of at least 2 years of constantly recurring depressed mood and hypomania. None or very few of the individual episodes of depression and hypomania within such 2-year period should be severe or long lasting with the criteria for depressive episode. 3 of the following symptoms should be present, like reduced energy, increased energy, and decreased need for sleep. Reduced energy, insomnia, loss of confidence, difficulty in concentrating, loss of libido, feeling of hopeless, poor coping daily life, pessimism about the future, social withdrawal, reduced talkativeness, as well as like hypomanic symptoms also presented here. If desired answer may be early, in late teenage and 20s, or late usually between age 30 and 50 years following an affective episode. In DSM-5, the same criteria answered has been presented here, and code number 301.13. And for adolescent and children, at least 1 year symptoms should be answer should be followed in the cyclothymic disorder. And during the about 2-year period, the hypomanic depressive episode have been present for at least half the time. The individual has not been without the symptoms for more than 2 months at a time. Criteria for a major depressive and a manic hypomanic episode have never been met. In ICD11, code number 6A62, cyclothymic disorder onset also same for at least 2 years with numerous periods of hypomanic. Example like euphoria, irritability, and euphoric like hypomanic symptoms, as well as depressive like feeling down, diminished interest in activities, fatigue, and depressive symptoms that are present during more of the time than not. The hypomanic symptomatology may or may not be sufficiently severe or prolonged to meet the full definition requirements of a hypomanic episode. But there is no history of manic or mixed episodes should be presented here, and the depressive symptomatology has never been sufficiently severe or prolonged to meet the diagnostic requirements for a depressive episode. The symptoms result in significant distress or significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, and other important areas of functioning. Systemic disorder, also ICD10 code F34.1, there must be a period of at least 2 years of constantly recurring depressed mood, intervening period of normal mood longer than a few weeks with no episode of hypomania. There must be more than 2 episodes of depressive episodes should be presented here, like a mild features continuously more than 2 years period. In DSM-5, the dystemic disorder name has been changed to persistent depressive disorder, code number 300.4. The answer also same here, and two of the following symptoms present, such as poor appetite or overeating, insomnia, low energy, low self-esteem, poor concentration, and feelings of purpose. And there is no same like hypomanic episode will not be presented here, and it is also never met cyclothymic disorder. And the disturbance is better explained by a persistent schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia, delusional disorder, and other simplified, unspecified schizophrenia spectrum, and other psychotic disorders. The symptoms are not attributable to the physiological effects of a substance or other medical condition. In ICD11, the dystemic disorder name also continuously put here, and the code 6A72. The answer is also same, the symptoms also same, and here also there is no history of maniac, mixed and hypomanic episode. Recurrent depressive disorder. ICD10 code. Correctly. There has been previous episode of mild, moderate, or severe episode of depression lasting minimum of 2 weeks separated from the current episode by at least 2 months. And there is no past history of mania, hypomania episode. The episode is not attributable to the psychoactive substance use or any organic mental disorder. In recurrent depressive disorder, mild type, there is a history of mild episode in the past with or without somatic syndrome. And recurrent depressive disorder moderate, there is no history of moderate. There is a history of moderate episode and in the past with or without somatic syndrome, and in severe without psychotic symptoms also past history of 1 episodes of depressive episode without psychotic features, and severe with psychotic symptoms, past history of 1 episode of depressive with psychotic features, other features of mood congruent and incongruent presented only in severe with psychotic symptoms criteria. Recurrent depressive disorder in remission, history of RDD in the past current state does not meet any criteria. Other recurrent depressive disorder and RDD unspecified also followed here. And the DSM-5.
This is different. DSM-5 is disruptive mood disorder.
Yes, sir.
This is a different section.
Okay, sir. So yes, okay, sir. So these two is other areas, not RD, other disorders. In this DSM-5, there is other sections also. New criteria has been added in the name of disruptive mood dysregulation disorder with a 1 year onset, at least 1 episode before the age of 6 years, and after the age of 18 years, there should be 1 episode has been followed here. DSM 5 code 296.99. And one more criteria has been added here: premenstrual dysphoric disorder with a total of 5 symptoms should be present. And substance medication induced depressive disorder, prolonged history of depression symptoms, at least 1 month, including alcohol, penicillin, other hallucinogen, inhalant, opioid, sedative or hypnotic, amphetamine, cocaine, and other substances. Depressive disorders due to another medical condition also added here, especially for include hypothyroidism section also added here. Others specified depressive disorder, code number 311 added here, and unspecified depressive disorder criteria also added here. Included all the epidemiological features related to every depressive disorder has been added in DSM 5. And ICD11, there is a added features like depressive symptoms lasting 2 weeks, all the criteria like inclusions like seasonal depressive disorder, endogenous depression with psychotic symptoms, major depression with recurrent with psychotic symptoms, and manic depressive psychosis, vital depression, recurrent without psychotic symptoms, exclusions like adjustment disorder, bipolar or other related disorders, single episode depressive disorder, other criteria like mixed depressive and anxiety disorder, and others specific depressive disorder unspecified, prominent anxiety symptoms in mood disorder, panic attacks in mood states, current depressive episode, persistent melancholia, seasonal pattern of mood state, and rappelling cycling has been added. In ICD11, mixed depressive and anxiety disorder criteria also added here, and other specified depressive disorder and depressive disorder unspecified criteria has been added. In ICD10, other features like other persistent mood affective disorders and persistent mood disorder unspecified, and other mood disorder also included, and other single mood disorder with a rapid alternation of manic, hypomanic, depressive symptoms lasting at least 2 weeks. There is no possibility of any kind of episode, and other recurrent mood disorder also included here. Rapid cycling disorder. The 2022 edition of ICD10 CM F31.9 became effective on October 1, 2021. This is the American ICD10 CM version of F31.9. Other international versions of ICD10 F31.9 may differ. Edition included rapid cycling depressive bipolar disorder. The DSM-4 defines rappelling cycling as a course specifier signifying at least 4 episodes of major depression, mania, mixed mania, or hypomania in the past year, occurring in any combination or order. It is estimated that rapid cycling is present in about 12 to 24% of patients at specialized mood disorder clinics. And DSM-5 rapid cycling mixed features added like anxiety and catatonia, etc. Bipolar 1 type dropped from criteria table. Other mood symptoms with medical concern also dropped. The paper has been published by Wolfgang Gabel, titled Changes from ICD-10 to ICD-11 and Future Direction in Psychiatric Classification. Here, the table also mentioned that what are the names has been changed from ICD-10 to ICD-11 from the all the like categorization like mental and behavioral disorder.
Our focus presentation is more.
And one more paper also have been published by Jules Angst et al. The paper titled Bipolar Disorder in ICD-11, Current Status and Strength. The paper results indicated that they found little difference between ICD-11 and ICD-10 identification subjects with bipolar disorder, but compared to DSM-5, a considerable increase in the diagnosis of hypomanic episodes and therefore of bipolar disorder. In a review article also published in the Indian Journal of Private Psychiatry, titled Highlights of ICD-11 Classification of Mental and Behavioral Neurodevelopmental Disorder by Dr. Anirban Ghosi. And the major innovations in the ICD-11 like clinician could reasonably expect to find in all cases. Disorder distributed to the groupings is shared symptoms rather than onset. Separation anxiety disorder shifted into fear-related disorders grouping and ensured the flexible exercise of clinical judgment and increased clinical utility. Major innovation incorporating dimensional approach within existing categorical system And the dimensional classification focuses clinical presentation, recovery-based approach, and the dimensional potential robustly realized that classification of personality disorder. There is a other disorders also ICD11 in novel editions like catatonia, bipolar type 2 disorder, body dysmorphic disorder, olfactory reference disorder, coding disorder, excoriation disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, prolonged grief disorder, binge eating disorder, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, body integrity dysphoria, gaming disorder, compulsive sexual behavior disorder, intermittent explosive disorder.
Our presentation title is mood disorders. No,
Yes, sir.
so we have to concentrate only on mood disorders. Why you going to all ICD10?
Okay, sir.
We're not concentrating on that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You know who is Dr. Bozi?
See you again.
He's a senior.
Okay.
Questions? Come on, first slide. Very focused on that.
Sorry, sir.
Introductory slide. First slide. To write presenter's name, to write the date, to write the chairperson's name.
Okay, sir.
This is being recorded. We'll say that you have simply recorded and put it up. Anyone who has joined online? Questions? Single episode. Srinivasan, answer a question first.
Sir. Actually, in ICD11 and DSM-5, mania has not been included in the bipolar second category because there should be only hypomanic episode is needed other than mania. So in type 1 disorder and as well as bipolar 1 area, both hypomanic and mania will be presented.
So what single episode mania, as per which diagnosis system you can diagnose as bipolar?
Single episode system also.
Single episode mania or single episode mania, as per these three, which from in which you can diagnose as a bipolar. ICD11, put this presentation. Close it. What is the important difference in ICD10 is a template which we are following as per WHO countries. Generally in India, more than WHO. So supposed to know ICD10, DSM 4 TR, then now DSM 5, DSM 5 TR is also top. Then ICD11. So maybe we'll go up from ICD10 now, DSM 5 and ICD11, DSM 5 TR and ICD11. The two things which will be followed. Go to the depression category. So what is the difference between across the three categories in depression? So in mania slide, no, go to the first slide, previous slide. See this, we have written MDD, SCDD. That is wrongly written.
Okay, sir.
Okay, next slide. What is the difference? Anything you can tease out? No, depression slides. What is the difference?
The name has been changed, sir, from ICD10, ICD11.
What criteria difference?
Criteria like there is no mild moderate depressive symptoms like यहाँ पे 2 symptoms plus 3 symptoms बोल रहे हैं सर, जैसा DSM-5 में DSM-11 में नहीं बोल रहे हैं सर. And there is no somatic syndrome criteria. Yes sir.
DSM-5.
No, ICD11 में sir. Specified severity criteria.
That is equal.
Sir, SCDD, unspecified severity new criteria.
See, the mild, moderate, and severe categories are there.
Yes, sir.
But that is right. He moderate with psychotic symptoms, severe psychotic. That is the one. In criteria per se, what is the difference?
Criteria?
Criteria, those symptoms, what is it? Is there any difference in those symptoms?
No, sir. No, sir. Yes.
You're saying here primary symptom, mood, loss of interest, and fatigue.
Sir, इसमें 3 + 7 sir. यहाँ पे 9 now 9.
But from ICD11, what it says? Depressive mood, or loss of pleasure accompanied by other. So fatigue, which has been given a lot of importance, it has been taken up. And that is right. Generally, fatigue being a core symptom for depression, generally we don't find. So that is what they have done is correct. So this kind of pointers we need to put up. My whole point of putting this series is to read 3 diagnosis systems, and think about it for a few days. Think, read, read. Then you will feel okay, these are the few differences which might not get in a lot of books.
Sure.
And then actually put it up.
Sure.
And highlight those differences.
Okay.
And you can darken those differences so that they can actually catch the audience attention. I don't know how much attention the audience has here, that how much people have picked it up, and what are the differences. Mixed picture, what has happened with mixed pictures? As per ICD10, we were diagnosing it as a mixed picture.
Okay.
So how much duration was that? 7 days, 15 days?
2 weeks, sir.
For ICD?
10, sir.
2 weeks. And for DSM 5 and 11? The specifier, they have put it as a features. Right? So it can be present in mania, it can be present in depression. So there's a specifier. Again, this is a very important difference. Okay. One difference you said that somatic syndrome, they have gone away with that kind of a specifier.
The medication induced or medication induced yeah. What are the stance of she DSM-5 and ICD10
You have 0.606 ICD10. So that says that DSM-5, given that the symptoms are not resolved within 4 weeks of stopping ICD11, has it any say? One more thing, what about dysthymia and cyclothymia? Now they are categorically saying there should not be, off periods more than normal well periods of more than 2 months. So they are saying more or less it's a continuous phenomenon. At least 50% of the episode, the time person should be symptomatic enough, not fulfilling the criteria. Double depression. What is double depression? Double depression is basically depression superimposed on dysthymia. So what is the stance, Srinivasa, of double depression, ICD10, DSM-5, ICD? Again, very important. Adjustment disorders, which all systems are saying we rule out adjustment disorders? All 3 or DSM-5, ICD-10?
Sir, DSM-5, ICD-11.
More or less, ICD-11 and DSM-5 are going hand in hand with those deviation criteria. There are subtle differences, but again, those differences need to be put up.
Yes.
And you can, if you do it very nicely, you can actually write a letter
Sure, sir.
and actually saying कि these are very, very fine differences. Next series of presentation.
Sir, Mera, sir.
Same.
NCT, sir.
Huh?
NCT.
You have got 2.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. What is that?
Next week, sir.
Next week. You got consecutively.
Yes, sir. This month only 2 seminars, sir, for me.
But next time I'm ready to do it
Okay, sir.
more. We have to
Sure,
actually
sir.
give time to this.
Sure.
It's very important.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any questions? Sorry, questions? Bipolar 1. If there are questions.
Often I have suggested that DSM 5 is to be unlike DSM 4, so that decimal can be added. But in some cases, I've seen that they write
Next presentation I will do it academy, sir. Whatever you want.
No, see, you give time to this presentation. Actually, by face value, Robert Tanya puts it, it appears to be a very simple presentation. But if we err on this, we'll err on subsequently all our evaluation. This is the most important. Diagnosis systems, we should, I'm saying that we should not follow them as a rule of law, but we should know them in and out. We should not err ki what is given and what. That is crime. There is negligence in context of psychiatry practice, which we do. So it is important. I will point this next presentation. Last presentation also was pretty halfway, which I attended. This comparison of 3 diagnosis systems. I'm not sure that whether you people are getting it or not. That comparison of diagnosis systems means one diagnosis template, another diagnosis template, and then a diagnosis template. Exclusion criteria. You need not go for each and every line. You can say they are exclusion criteria. But what are the subtle differences, duration? This set of symptoms are not mentioned in these criteria. I want that kind of a critical evaluation. So both of them. Differences if you do it very well, we can write a letter to the journal and publish it. Many times I still remember one of my seniors used to dig into these diagnosis systems and actually tease out so many differences which normally were not written. And we used to actually read it between the lines because this thing is not given. Maybe this is a difference. That kind of an approach because these are very important. So any comments? Comments?
next time, the highlights.
Because last time also, this time third presentation, these are very important.
So what that is going, because I think to all the students that quickly I can say that you don't have to write line by line. So main difference is out, and everyone can have the DSM.
Sure. Okay, sir.
Or maybe you go to the slide, any comparison slide. So like this, when you're saying this thing, you can highlight in the red whatever is common in all the 3. Need not read it for all the 3 systems.
Okay, sir.
This is common. Okay, we'll read it.
Sure.
These are differences. It will actually make concept very easy for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.